This is the story of Centron Film Corporation, founded in Lawrence, Kansas, in the years following World War II. Founded by talented educators and craftsmen, Centron grew from a modest workshop into one of the nation's leading producers of educational and industrial films.
We here at Centron feel confident in our ability to help you solve your communication problems, whatever they may be. We have the modern facilities and a highly skilled staff ready to help you in motion picture production, media advertising, sound recording. This staff and these facilities and services of Centron are at your disposal to help you with your communication problems. May we take this opportunity to invite you to visit us.
One of Centron Film Corporation's most prominent employees was a filmmaker you may not know, but whose work has stood the test of time. His name? Herk Harvey. Herk didn't just make movies, he crafted lessons. Under his direction, everyday topics became lively, accessible stories. His films helped Americans learn how to be safer drivers, better workers, and more responsible citizens.
I got started making films. I was here at the university in the theatrical department, in the theater department up here, as an instructor at that time. And I would come down to Centron once in a while as an actor. And finally they asked me if I would like to direct for them. And I said, sure, it would be kind of fun to try. So I came down full-time as a director at that time. And that was 12, 13 years before we did Carnival.
So here we have Bill and Mary Asher, two normal young people faced with a somewhat abnormal situation.
Mr. Price, please.
Oh, yes. Go right on in.
Well, the Ashers.
Hello, Mr. Price.
Hello there. Sit down. I'm glad you could come today. We'd better take care of this matter as soon as possible.
We're a little curious.
You know, I never even met Bill's Aunt Emily.
This is a copy of the will which Miss Asher's attorney sent.
What? I never expected anything like this.
Provided that before title to said property shall pass to William Jonathan Asher, he shall, within 6 months of date, have acquainted himself with my native state in which these properties are located.
That means we have to visit Kansas.
That's what it means.
Kansas.
Have you ever been there?
No, Aunt Emily always visited the family here. I suppose we'll have to do it, though.
You may be surprised, Bill. You'll see things out there you never expected to find.
Well, what's the verdict, Doc? How much longer is it going to be? Yeah, well, speak up. Well, I can take it. Is it going to be 2 months, 6 months? You don't have to be afraid to tell me.
You aren't going to see again, Bob.
Oh, no.
Is this your idea of a joke?
But he only had a bump on the head, not even a scratch.
Both retinas are completely detached. It must have been the shock when you were thrown from the car. It happens like this
Hey,
sometimes.
you must be wrong. I'll get over it.
Surely there's something you can do, some sort of operation.
We'll check with somebody else, a specialist in the city.
Yes, we'll find someone.
No. No.
Those were the only words that stayed with me. I couldn't believe, and I'm sure Bob couldn't believe, that there could be much of a life ahead for him now.
He was the kind of man I can remember seeing him direct actors all day. And we used to have Hollywood actors here, you know, shows. We used to do sales meetings for oil companies and things.
Mystery lady, that's how I'm known. Mystery lady, searching alone.
Fill it with flight fuel, sir?
No, you wouldn't say that.
Fill it with 66?
No.
Lemonade?
No.
Peanut butter?
Oh, come on. You know what I mean. I'm a lady customer. You wouldn't say sir.
Oh! Fill it with flight fuel, baby?
Now, you wouldn't say that either.
Well, I was just kidding.
Well, stop kidding around. All right. Now, get serious.
He'd work all day directing these people, shoot dozens and dozens and dozens of shots. And on evening, maybe I'd see him sweeping up the studio to make sure the section was clean for tomorrow morning. He was that kind of a fellow.
I think everybody that makes motion pictures sooner or later wants to try a feature film. I think this is just sort of innate in the occupation. I think when you direct films, you want to see how well you can do the entertainment media. And so that's what made me want to give it a try.
The lens of a motion picture projector is an eye that can help you stimulate, motivate, educate your students. But like any eye, it must be pointed in the right direction. Its wise use demands selectivity. Behind the eye, there must be a brain, your brain.
But Harvey's creative spirit didn't stop at industrial films. In 1961, while driving through Utah, he came across an abandoned lakeside pavilion, the Saltaire Resort.
Salt Lake had receded, and this thing was standing on stilts out there and had these strange buildings around it, so he drove out there and looked at it. And it was the evening, and it was a huge outdoor ballroom. And I think the biggest one, between the Mississippi and Los Angeles, it turned out that it had been abandoned for years. And he thought it was very creepy.
And decided then that if at all possible, a film should be made that uses this as a location. I just cataloged it away. Actually, I do that on a lot of films. Either you look at a place and you think, gee, if I ever need this, this is a good location for this.
And he said, if I could write a script that would kind of end up there, with people, dead people dancing in that old Salt Lake. Some local businessmen had told him that if he ever wanted to make a feature film, they thought they could raise some money. So he said, if I'd come up with a script, he thought he could get the money and make a feature film. So I set to work in the evenings, and I think in about 3 weeks of evenings and Saturdays, I wrote Carnival of Souls.
The filmmaker took his camera to the scene of the action. He documented facts carefully and accurately at the moment when they occurred.
Well, back in 1962, a couple of fellows had an idea to make a movie during their vacation, and they did, in the space of just a few weeks. And today, 27 years later, their film, Carnival of Souls, is being reissued to theaters and hailed as a cult classic. It's quite a story, on screen and off. The filmmakers also recruited Candace Hilligoss, a New York theater actress, to make her film debut in this unforgettable story.
The budget for Carnival of Souls was $30,000, of which $13,000 was cash. A friend of mine here in town told me that he would be very happy to help me if I decided to make the film.
He also told me not to write too much dialogue because I guess it was too expensive to shoot all that on the street or something like that. People don't notice, but Carnival was about half silent movie if it wasn't for the organ score.
We have a script, we're ready to go, and he said, I'm ready to get the money. So he contacted some friends, and they came up with $13,000 over the weekend.
So I thought, okay, he's got that pavilion. That's a good way to save money if I could think of other places like that. And I happen to have been recently in the Reuter Organ Building. I saw that room where they assemble organs. And I thought that'd be a good place to shoot. I thought, well, the heroine could be an organist. And she could have gotten a job in a church at Salt Lake, and that's how she's going to get her to Salt Lake. And that was it. I started with that. And
most of the ideas in the film belonged to John. And through the time, as he developed an outline and then finally a script, we decided we'd go that particular way.
One thing I remember I decided as a writer was I wouldn't give this heroine any help. You know, usually a man comes in. If a woman's in trouble in those old films, it's always some fellow comes in and helps her solve her problem.
Cocteau, I love his films, always have. And I would say that a great deal of the visual influence at that particular time would probably be due to films I've seen of his. Blood of the Poet, several of his films, Beauty and the Beast, this sort of thing, where in black and white you really get strong imagery and where you get sort of an ethereal sense of the picture giving you a not of this earth type quality.
You know, Herk Harvey was an amazing man. He was accustomed to shooting fast and quick, and he was very organized. He was totally organized. So I don't think anybody else could have made Carnival of Souls but except Herk Harvey.
The documentary technique, in its two variations, is the technique most often used in films designed primarily to communicate information.
35 millimeter was very different from working in the 16 medium for two reasons primarily. First is the bulk of the equipment. At that time, the 35 millimeter camera, we used an Airy blimped, and the blimped camera is probably about 30 inches long, about 18 inches high, and about 12 inches wide. So you have this huge black box to move around, to horse around every time you shoot a picture, which limits you then on the flow and the feel that you have of today's cinema, which is very much handheld, steady cam, this kind of operation.
He shot it with this crew of 5. He shot Carnival of Souls in something like 3 weeks. Half of it in Lawrence, half of it in Salt Lake City. And they traveled out there. I think they had just a couple of cars, one of which they used to shoot scenes in along the way. And the New York actors packed in along with the crew. That's the way he shot it.
You will often find that the use of unusual camera techniques, special music, and non-technical, sometimes even poetical narration, contribute to the film's purpose.
Yeah, there were several interesting things that happened during the production. For instance, we wanted to shoot a car going off a bridge out between Lecompton and Perry, Kansas. And I went over and checked on the bridge and came back to Douglas County and said we would like to film a scene of the car going through the bridge. And Douglas County said, if you can get the permission of Jefferson County, we'd be interested in doing this because it's jointly owned between Jefferson and Douglas. So I went to Jefferson and said, I have Douglas's permission, can I have yours? And they said, well, yes. And so then I went back to Douglas and said, I had Jefferson's permission, do I have yours? And they said yes. The only hitch being that you had to pay for any damage you did to the bridge. And of course this concerned me greatly because I thought, well, this could amount to a considerable amount of money, almost the whole budget of the film, if something happened to the bridge. But everything worked all right the day of shooting. The first attempt, the car went through the bridge and everything was fine. When we left, the 2 men were there from the county preparing the bridge, and about 2 weeks later I got a bill for $12 for 2 befores and 4 befores that had been used in repairing the bridge in the 2 men's time.
Somebody had bought the TV rights for 16 years. And so we didn't know it, but people were seeing it, catching it at midnight and 1 or 2 in the morning on TV. It was probably the best time to see it. You know, they weren't expecting much. They liked it. And it was building up a little following.
The other resurrected shock classic is Carnival of Souls, a 1962 film that is available in a video version, as we noted a few nights ago, but only as a bootleg of very dodgy quality. The best way to see Carnival of Souls is in an uncut 35 millimeter print, which you now can do because the movie has just been re-released, and it's opening in places like Boston and Pittsburgh this weekend.
It has shown on late night TV now in New York and in Los Angeles. And as a result, we have developed sort of a cult following of people who really do like the ideas and do like the way it's presented.
And then Texas Film Festival ran it, and it garnered a lot of attention there. And we were contacted then by a distributor that wanted to distribute again.
The making process was enjoyable. The distribution process was torture. And in the final analysis, right after the distribution failed, I had a terrific guilt feeling for all the people who had invested money in the film and weren't getting anything back out of it, and never did get anything back out of it. Had Carnival gone at the time, had we received the money that was due us, we could have gotten right back into another production, and then another production, because all you have to do is have 3 or 4 of these, and then the royalties from the films will keep a company like that going.
Amazing thing was, it brought it out a second time, about almost 30 years after it was made, and it played theaters all over the country, and was reviewed, you know, in the New Yorker and Village Voice and all the magazines, and one of the New York papers said, I remember, nothing less than the best genre film of 1989. So it was just rediscovered.
The only way I can judge from that, of course, is from some of the reviews that were sent out. And in most cases, they were saying that the picture looked very good, had some interesting ideas, and was a terrific amount of production for the budget.
Our next movie is a horror film named Carnival of Souls, and this one comes attached to a story. The movie was made in 1962 in Lawrence, Kansas on a low budget by an industrial filmmaker. He only spent $30,000 on it, but this movie has never been quite forgotten over the years, and now it's being re-released around the country as a cult classic just in time for Halloween. The movie stars Candace Hilligoss. I haven't heard of her again. The movie was directed by Herk Harvey, who has a nice eye for camera angles, which makes the ordinary small-town streets of this film look weird and threatening. Carnival of Souls is said to have influenced such later movies as Blue Velvet and Night of the Living Dead. In fact, George Romero says that he saw it before making his movie Night of the Living Dead. And I think it holds up pretty well 27 years after it disappeared into the twilight zone of B movies.
I don't know. John and I have got a couple of scripts, and we don't know if we'll do these or not, and we just really don't know. We did a 3-act play here in town with the community theater called Wabash Winning Streak, and this is a very interesting script, could be made into a motion picture. And we have another one that would be shot in Baldwin and Lawrence called Flanagan's Smoke. That would be an interesting show to do in this locality. My suggestion to other people making features would be, first of all, don't worry about pre-planning all your distribution. Go ahead and make the film and then show it yourself in prime locations. Because on Carnival of Souls, had I shown it just in Lawrence, Kansas City, and Salt Lake City, I would have been able to recoup all my expenses from those 3 locations. This would not have included foreign distribution or anything else. It was given to Hertz Lion in California, a publicly owned distribution company, and we got reports saying it had made so much money here, so much money in foreign countries, and that we would be paid soon. Then Mr. Hertz, president of the company, took the money, disappeared, and that was the end of that.
With a shoestring budget, local talent, and the grit he'd honed at Centron, Herk Harvey, a filmmaker who proved that you didn't need a big studio or a big city to make something truly unforgettable. From classrooms to cult cinema, his work continues to teach, to inspire, and to haunt in the best possible way.